Hi there, it's Robert. It's been a long time. I have been away. I'm sure some of you, if you remember, may be wondering what happened, and I could give a list of excuses or whatever, but one of which being my new job. But basically, unless Max and I had drastically different schedules than we did, we were never really going to be able to meet up to do the podcast that much. So because of that, obviously we're not going to really be doing that anymore. But recently I was thinking about doing some videos again, and I was going to start a new channel, but it didn't seem to make any sense. So I decided to just reopen this one and make whatever I make on it. What I mean by that is I'm not sure I'm going to be just doing mantic stuff here. In fact, I know I'm not just going to be doing mantic related videos on this channel. Basically, this is going to be my personal gaming channel, so whatever game I play is going to be the game you're going to see. And that's probably going to be a bit of mantic, but a lot of the other things I like as well. To be honest, in the past while, I haven't really been keeping in touch with mantic goings-on as much as I had. I know that Warpath has kind of been trundling along and doing fairly well, and that Dreadball and Dead Zone have basically been making the company go in leaps and bounds forward, which is fantastic. In a way, it's kind of a shame because for me personally, because the reason I got into it and really became enthusiastic about Mantic was Warpath, but at the same time, I'm really glad overall, because I think that what's happened to Mantic is fantastic. They found a few games, not just one game, that could eventually, start losing its glamour. But they've got a few games that really have people interested in them and actively playing. And honestly, I'm not surprised that these are games that are either Dreadball, which is similar to a Games Workshop game that is no longer supported, or Dead Zone, which, well, you could say it's like Necromunda, but it isn't really. It's something else. And these games coming along and being the main focus for the company, and meaning that in the past 2 years Warpath has moved forward, but only slowly, is actually for the best for them. For instance, Dreadball. Dreadball is basically what people thought was going to be a new Blood Bowl, but it's become a lot more than that. It's actually gone from a game with just, some space orcs and space humans to a game with 12 different teams and various different versions, a lot of different things going on in it, and even an alternative underground Dreadball, I can't remember the name of it, version, which is, again, really great and a fantastic game. And if I lived near people who had any interest in it, I would probably be interested too. But I don't. So, Dead Zone, on the other hand, initially I kind of was wondering what Dead Zone was and how it was relating to Warpath and all that, because, Warpath was trying to come in to Games Workshop's biggest franchise, which is 40k obviously, and make an alternative game. And on the face of it, that's a brilliant idea. But it seems that in reality, what people seem to want is skirmish games. And Dead Zone does that, and it simplifies it. It gives you a board. It reduces all the tricky movement and makes for a skirmish game like Infinity, like Necromunda, like all of those, but that actually simplifies certain elements that can kind of bog people down and make them take almost as long playing that kind of skirmish game as they do playing 40k, or at least a small game of 40k. And I think that it's really good that Mantic have moved over to Dead Zone having a little bit more focus in some ways than Warpath, because when you look at it, that's what 28mm miniatures should be doing. They should be for skirmish games. Warpath, at least when they had the version of the rules that was, taking off units at a time, and you actually leave the models on and take damage tokens until the unit's ready to die. I love that kind of game. I absolutely love it. I think it's exactly what I was looking for, and again, as I said, why I really was why I was really following Mantic so fanatically. But it doesn't quite work with that scale. It doesn't work in 40k. I don't like 40k. I think 40k is a terrible game. Warpath is a great game. It's a lot of fun. It isn't too hard to learn, but it might do it a different scale for the miniatures. And I've actually been toying around with this idea for a long time, and I'm thinking that I'm going to play Warpath, even though I really want to support the company and buy their miniatures. I think I'm going to play Warpath with 6mm miniatures because, well, to be honest, that's what probably works with taking off whole units at a time. That's what probably works with the level of battle that I really enjoy, this kind of overlord perspective, which is what 40k pretends to have, and what Warpath was kind of managing to have, depending on the size of the game you had. That takes me on to my next thing, which is 6mm miniatures. I have really gotten back into this again. I used to love 6mm miniatures. It was actually Space Marine, I'm not sure if it was the first edition or the second, was the first game I ever bought. And I remember when I was young that I would save up whatever pocket money I got and go out and buy the latest, what I thought was a booster pack, but was actually a little army pack of 6mm miniatures for Space Marine or Epic or Epic or whatever it was called then. And you could get the little Orcs expansion box and the Space Marine expansion box and all that. And I used to think that I had been thinking that was nostalgia, that I was just, oh well, I was a kid. It was my first time being introduced to to any kind of miniatures, never mind 6mm. But actually, the more I think about it, the more that style of game is what I want to be playing. So the videos that go up on this channel are probably going to have a lot of 6mm stuff in them. And whether that's Warpath or my version of Warpath or whatever, or it's one of the Epic games that's become taken over by online communities in a very good way, I might add, or whether it's the other companies like Event Horizon, Future War Commander, or Polyversal, which is coming out later in the year. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm finishing up painting my fantasy army, which has a lot of mantic undead in it. And once I've finished that army, I'm probably going to be sticking with 6mm for quite a while, at least on the building and painting side, even if I can't get games in. I mean, the problem I'm having at the moment is I have, well, I want to say literally no one to game with. I have one person I can game with, and that's not going to change for the next 6 months or so. So I'm going to just play whatever we want to play and not really bother so much about what's popular. And I'm not going to really buy full new games like Dread Bull and Dead Zone. I can't really put all the money down and get into those when I have no way of playtesting them. Whereas with Warpath, I obviously had a lot of playtesting with my old 40k miniatures. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at the moment. I hope people are all right with that, and if you're absolutely not interested in that kind of shift for this channel, please do unsubscribe or whatever you want to do. I'm just making these for fun really anyway. If you do want to just see any kind of gaming related videos that are put up basically whenever I have time, which could be weeks apart, could be months apart, I don't really know, then feel free to stay subscribed. And that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys understand better what this channel is, even if I don't. And I look forward to posting another video soon, because I've deliberately made another one to make sure that I don't end up not updating immediately after this update video, because, well, that would actually fit in quite well with my modus operandi. It would just start to irritate people. So stay tuned to what I have planned next, and I'll see you then.